through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, wheels stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning?
Doing great on a terrific Tuesday.
Mo, I wanted to start the show today by giving us some numbers, all right? I'm not going to throw out a reason for these numbers, all right? These numbers are strictly concrete details, okay? These were numbers that have been released in a recent report from the WNBA. Attendance in the WNBA this season is currently up 156% from last year, and more than half of all WNBA games this season have been sellouts. About 400,000 fans have attended WNBA games this season, filling WNBA arenas to nearly 94% capacity. This year's televised games on ABC, ESPN, and other outlets combined are averaging 1.32 million viewers. So all televised games, if you put together their averages, it's 1.32 million viewers. Last year, all televised games combined averaged 462,000 viewers. WNBA Countdown. Didn't even know this show existed. WNBA Countdown is averaging 741,000 viewers this season. That is an increase of 211% from what they were averaging last season. The WNBA's online merchandise store has already set a single season sales record. There's 4+ months left in the season. Sales are up 756% compared to last year. The WNBA's social media channels have garnered 157 million video views through the first week of the season, an all-time high, and up 380% compared to last season. And the WNBA set an all-time high for League Pass subscriptions last month, with a 355% increase last season. Oh, by the way, there was also a number out after Game 1 of the NBA Finals for attendance. And whatever game that Caitlin Clark played right around either the day before, it was the night before, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, it was a home game. Their attendance for the home game topped the attendance for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Now, I know that attendance numbers can be skewed a little bit. How many people can you fit in the building? What areas were not available? I understand that, but Mo, a number is a number. So again, I'm not going to talk names right now, but I think it's fair to say business is booming. Is that fair, Mo?
It's very fair.
That's fair. Business is booming. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this continuously on the show, where we've said when business is booming, you have to make sure you take advantage of the situation. So, Mo, that is going to bring us to the actual conversation point. Should Caitlin Clark have been put on Team USA for the women?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a lock. I thought about that back and forth. Because I think we're both talking about what she brings in terms of garnering attention and raising the awareness of the league. I understand all that. I understand anybody that wants to make that case, but I also understand anybody that wants to make the case that this team, it isn't a new team. They've been together, most of these players, for years.
Mhm.
And I believe they have a chance to win something like their 8th straight. I mean, like that's an insane thing to do and an accomplishment to do. So I would say this: if you're asking me, should she have been put on the basis of, is she one of the 12 best players in the WNBA, or wherever that cutoff is? I think it's 15, maybe 12 to 15. Then she probably isn't. She probably isn't one of the 15 best players in the WNBA. And to put her on there, this is just from my standpoint, purely because of popularity, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. It's kind of discrediting the women that should be on the team. I think Caitlin Clark's response to not making the team was good. She admitted, like, that's, how hard it is to make that team. She's right. She's right. There might have been one or two veterans where you could have flipped a coin whether Caitlin Clark could have been in over them, but now you're talking about somebody like Diana Taurasi, who's like as proven. I mean, and if you look at her achievements from college to where she is now, she might be the most decorated player, or one of the most decorated players in women's basketball ever. So you're not going to move her. The question wouldn't be like, is she good enough? Maybe the question should be like, who is she going to replace? Who is you going to move to where you say, like, well, that makes sense. So I understand the argument about, well, this is a good moment, and she's going to be on the team and it will bolster up the league. It could, but I would remind people that we all watch the Olympics anyway. I know I do. We watch the Olympics anyway. They have our full attention anyway. Nobody. I, I could be proven wrong. Let me rewind that. I don't care about Michael Phelps or swimming or any of that until the Olympics. I'm just being honest. I don't care. And I'm just saying that when everybody's locked in on that moment, our country versus your country, I think the women's team has never struggled to garner attention. I would argue the last few years the women's team has been more interesting than the men's team. So I get the marketing thing, but what I would say is you don't need her to market for everything. I don't think the women's team need her. If she's good enough to be on the team, then they need her. But to be on the team purely because she could boost up views or anything like that, then she shouldn't be on the team. She'll be on the next team. I've heard people say, "Well, you gotta grab this moment," and I'm like, "Well, she ain't going nowhere. She ain't going nowhere. There's more games to be played. I don't think she's retiring. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine, and she's going to be fine. I think that the players that are on the team are probably the players that should be on the team."
Mo, I was with you all the way. Like, that's exactly how I felt up to about a day ago. Because I looked at it and I thought this. Now, first of all, I completely agree. Is she one of the best 15 players in the WNBA? No. Should she be on that team based solely on she is one of the best players and that's why she made the team? No, I don't think she should be on the team based on where she ranks right now as far as the best players in the WNBA. But Mo, I'm going to take it one step further. I don't think that Caitlin Clark should just be on the team. I think that Angel Reese should be on the team. And I think that other young lady that's paired in with these three, whose name I cannot think of right now, I think
Is it
she should be on.
Cordova?
No, not Cordova. Who is the other one? Her last name starts with an L, maybe. I don't know. She's the one that McAfee was throwing up on the screen with all of them when he was doing his rant. But I think that all three of them should be on the team because I look at it this way. You're right. The Team USA women are about to embark on either their 7th or 8th opportunity to win a gold medal, right? 7 or 8 straight, whatever the number is. And what have those 7 straight gold medals done for the WNBA? Nothing, in my opinion. I mean, you can talk about playing for your country. You can talk about pride for your name. I get all of that. I get all of that. But I'm asking just strictly from a business standpoint, what have being the dominant group of women basketball players in the world for 7 straight Olympics done for the WNBA? And the answer really is nothing. Yes, people who are going to watch women's basketball, people who are going to show up for the support of Team USA, they're going to show up regardless. They're going to show up no matter who is on the team, just because it's the Olympics. The people who watch basketball during the Summer Olympics are going to watch basketball because it's basketball during the Olympics. This, in my opinion, was an opportunity. And it shouldn't have been just Caitlin Clark's opportunity. It should have been all of them. All those ones who are getting those storylines right now, all the ones that are bringing the young fans and the new fans into the WNBA, put them on the Olympic team. I would look at this and say, Mo, let's make a business decision and not a basketball decision. Because what can we do? What can we do with the biggest names in the WNBA right now as far as who are bringing new fans into the game to strike while the iron is hot, not just Caitlin Clark? Because let's say, because the obvious argument here is, well, Chris, what if they don't win gold? You're right. What if they don't win gold? But what if they create must-see TV? Sure, maybe they play a game or two less, but the games that they play, Mo, those ratings would be through the freaking roof. Seeing Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese on the same team, on the same floor at the same time, what are they going to do together? Are they going to pass the ball to each other? Is one going to ignore? What does that look like? And I get it. You're going to upset the play. Whatever. Yeah, okay. Some of them might be upset. Let's talk about a business WNBA decision right now, because for me, I get it. Caitlin Clark is going to make future teams. Angel Reese is probably going to make future teams. But Mo, we have talked about this for weeks on end. Can the WNBA take advantage of every opportunity while all the attention is on them? And this was a situation where Gene had it right. Cameron Brink was the other one. I don't know where I got the L from.
She leads the WNBA in block shots. I like, and look, she's already got an insane following.
Correct. And I get it. I'm totally going in the face, Mo, of putting the best team on the floor. They're not the best players. If we go Brink, Reese, and Clark, they're not the 15. They're not part of the 15 best players. They're probably not part of the 25 or 30 best players in the WNBA right now. I get that. But I look at it, Mo, and I say, damn, what would that look like if you put them in there? And I get it. It would probably piss off A'ja Wilson, right? Someone like her who already feels like she's not getting the love and the credit and the respect that she deserves. I get it that would piss her off. And I don't have a way to tell players, listen, you're not going to make the team because we're going to I don't have a way to do that, Mo, because there is no way to do it because you're better. They would be better than those three players. Like, I get that, but I'm looking at simply the business side of it. That's all I'm looking at. Because if you're the WNBA and you're not just looking at the business side of it, you're leaving ratings, you're leaving viewership, you're leaving money on the table. 15, 20, 30 years from now, Mo, let's say they win the gold. Let's say this team wins the gold. Does anyone care? 15, 20? I don't think they do. Now, you could argue, well, Chris, no one's going to care if Caitlin Clark and Reese and Cameron were all on the team. Maybe not. But I think there's a better chance of someone being like, do you remember that Olympic squad where they put those three together? Like, I think there's a better chance of remembering that, because, Mo, the casual fan's not watching now. You're talking about all those casual fans that you were bringing into the game. How many of them are not tuning in now? If you want to be like, well, the Olympics brings in people anyways. You're right, it does. But those people were probably coming anyways. What about all those new fans that you just brought into the league? They would have came to this. They would have showed up to this. They would have bought the Team US. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying it's right. And I know that it's so easy to hammer me right now because you're saying, Chris, you're really going to piss off, because it would piss off the entire team. I know that it would. But I just look at it from this business standpoint of, is the WNBA going to do everything that it can do right now to capitalize on these young women who are quickly ascending to being the face of this league. And I just think it was a missed opportunity to do so, because I don't think you're going to have the numbers you could have had. And yes, they're going to go out, Mo, and they're going to win their 8th gold medal, and it's going to be amazing for them. And they're going to continue their dominance on the world stage. And none of those ladies that I just mentioned are even probably the top 30 best players right now. So I get it. But I just don't want to see a bunch of future situations where the league does things like, well, we don't want to upset the old guard. We want to put the best actual players. We're not going to do it for marketing and namesake, because there comes a point, Mo, where you got to market what you have. You have to throw all your eggs into the basket and be like, we need to make the money now, because we don't know. You don't know. You don't know when that fire is going to go away, and when you being the most talked about league in sports right now is going to disappear. Because let's not forget, Mo, Caitlin Clark's not going to the playoffs. So that's already got to be a concern for the WNBA. What are your numbers look like come playoff time when Caitlin Clark's not going to be there? What do your numbers look like come playoff time when you're literally in the middle of the World Series and you're week 4 of the NFL season? We already know the upcoming hurdles they're going to face. So I just thought, and I know, Mo, you're going to kill me for it, but I just thought that this was a moment where you could have blew it up, and you chose not to rock the boat. You chose not to rock the boat.
The problem with that way of thinking is, like you said, how do I go to somebody that's better than all 3 of them and say,
you don't.
We're going to take your spot? Because have you seen Cameron Brink's TikTok following and with Caitlin Clark being Angel Reese? I get all that. But I'm better than all 3 of them. How do you justify that? You don't justify it. And the truth is, if you put them on the team, they're probably not going to play anyway. They would be the Christian Laettners of that team. They would be on the bench. I don't know how the ratings will work watching them sit on ride pine, but I don't know how that and it doesn't benefit the team. If they're going to ride pine, it doesn't benefit the team. So I just.
Well, that's step 2. Step 2 for me, Mo, is you got to play them too. We are just getting past step 1. Step 2 was they also need to play.
well, here's the thing, though. The casual fans or the fans that have been watching the WNBA, they didn't follow it. Like you said, they came from her fan base that she drew, or all 3 young ladies drew from college. They grew up in college and brought that fan base to the WNBA, and all you hear is, wow, the game, it's very physical. And there, right. I mean, I didn't know. Right. But guess what? The Euro style basketball is more physical than the WNBA. They're not going to be better. They're going to be worse playing over there in that style of basketball because they're not ready for it. I get what you're saying. You don't want to miss an opportunity. I would just say this is a opportunity. But I don't think, you say upset the team. If it upsets the team, though, isn't it they're upset for the right reasons? Like, those aren't the 3 best players that should be. Like, the team would be mad because they'd be like, we're supposed to send our best, right? Well, those 3 aren't our 15 best. I get why the team would be upset. That totally makes sense to me. It shouldn't be a popularity contest. I heard Stephen A. Smith the other day make a terrible analogy, which he's apt to do. And he said, well, Michael Jordan wasn't going to be on the dream team unless Isaiah Thomas wasn't going to be put on the team. But you know what they did? They knew that Michael Jordan was box office, and so they made it, and Isaiah wasn't on the team. And I'm like, right. But that was Michael Jordan. And just by coincidence, he happened to also be the best player in basketball. Like, it wasn't like they were asking the most popular player. They were asking the most popular player and the best player in basketball to play. It would have been a lot different, let's say, if Michael Cooper was the most popular player in basketball and he made the dream team. Who could justify that, right? They would have been like, but you don't understand, Mo. He's got a mass following. Right, but he's a role player. I don't care how popular he is. It doesn't justify him being on the dream team. So I'm not killing you from the business standpoint, because I think, like I said, there's a case to be made for that side of it. I won't argue against that. but I look at it simply on the fact that their time is going to come on the on Team USA, but their time isn't now because they just haven't earned it. They haven't earned it, and I don't know how you just walk in there and go like, "Look, I know you guys have been together for all these years, but these three guys have such a following. You three are out, they're in. Look, if you want to bring in ratings, I don't know, make Caitlin Clark an alternate. I don't know, send her over there with the team. She can do all kind of photo ops, maybe do all kind of pressers. You could do something like that. As a matter of fact, send all three of those young ladies over there as alternates. They could have uniforms, the whole nine. I'm sure that would bring up all kind of attention and followers as well. But I don't think you can genuinely replace players that are better than them because they're more popular.
Let me ask you this, Mo. I don't know her name, but I saw it yesterday in an article. She hasn't played yet this season, but she is on Team USA.
I know who you're talking about.
The thought process is she's going to be ready to go. But if there was a setback and she couldn't go, the thought process is at that point they might consider putting Caitlin on the team. I would not. I don't think you can just put Caitlin Clark on this team by herself and not put at least one of the other ones. I don't think this team would embrace Caitlin Clark being on the team. I don't think it would be a good experience. Nor do I think you're right, Mo. Caitlin Clark wouldn't play. So at that point, I don't think I would do it. In my mind, it has to be the group of them, not just one of them.
Or at least Caitlin and Angel Reese.
Right.
At least those two.
Because I don't think they want her there. I don't think the team as a whole would embrace her being there, even if it is a situation where a player couldn't go, so she's essentially being brought in last minute as a reserve, knowing that she's not going to play, knowing that she really isn't going to factor into what the team's doing. All of those things considered, Mo, I still don't think she would be embraced by the team. So if it was me at that point, I would just skip over putting her on the team at all.
I guess I understand where you're coming from. Look, I think if she gets the opportunity as an alternate to make the team, I'm sure she'll accept it. I don't think the other players dislike her. Are there some players who might be jealous, who might dislike her? There might be.
I don't know. Diana, I don't think Diana likes her.
But I'm just saying I don't think all 15 players are like I just don't like her. I don't like her. I get that there's a natural reaction to being jealous for some who have been established stars for years, and the league, it struggled with ratings. It struggled with bringing in new fans. I get that. I don't normally watch. I don't watch what is his show? Jon Stewart's show very often. I don't. But I watched it last night just because Monica McNutt was on there and she was talking about this topic. And I always find her compelling and interesting. And she thought like I thought. Caitlin's time will come. She goes, but it just isn't now. She goes, I understand everybody's argument about the marketing and the business side of it. She goes, but she's a basketball player. And I'm right with her. She said she's a basketball player. When did we just shove competition to the side for ratings? And I'm like, that's such a good point. She's got to earn her spot. She's got to earn her spot. And if you're saying the veterans wouldn't appreciate if she came in as an alternate, they're definitely not going to like her, Cameron Brink, or Angel Reese if they don't earn their spots. You just showed up and got a spot. Like everybody else had to fight for the spot or beat somebody else out, but you three, you just show up and you're on the team. Yeah, that goes against competition spots that they didn't earn.
Man, that means that someone's really not going to like Bronny when he makes a
Hey, I don't know about all that. So just so long as he's not on the Lakers,
That's cool. Right. See what you did there? As long as the Lakers aren't taking him with pick 17, you're okay with wherever Bronny ends up.
I'm cool.
All right, let's bring JG up in here. We got some Major League Baseball stuff to discuss this morning, and we love when JG joins us. JG is coming up onto the stage right now. Good morning, JG. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How you guys doing this morning?
Hey, morning, JG.
JG, we got some Major League Baseball topics on the brain this morning. Let's get right into those. I got one that I didn't touch base with you yesterday because we had so many things we were talking about yesterday. But one of them was the rumor and innuendo that as we head into the All-Star break, your team, the Atlanta Braves, are going to be focused on adding pitching. So obviously that's a very vague statement because I think that every Major League Baseball team, JG, who is competing for something would love to add pitching because you can never have enough pitching. But when you hear that the Braves are looking to add pitching, in your mind, what does that mean? And more specifically, who do you think they're looking at?
Well, if it was me, pitching would not be as big of a priority right now than what they're probably looking at it as. I think you have young pitchers that you have given opportunities to, and they are the future of it. And I understand the situation right now. If you're an Atlanta Braves, personnel, you're looking at it and so, well, they're not ready yet. At some point, they're going to have to be ready. It's very tough. I think what they're also looking at, and I've kind of said this with you before, obviously after this season, Max Fried is a free agent. He's probably playing himself out of being in Atlanta's market. So you're going to look for somebody, if you're trying to target pitching, you're going to look for somebody who has control, his roster control over the next couple of years to at least buy you some time. To where you can, or to move up Hurston Waldrop or Spencer Schwellenbach or AJ Smith-Shawver, who's on the IL currently. It gives them a little bit more time to kind of give them the chance to, season themselves and be a big league pitcher. It doesn't make sense to do a 1-year rental at this point, or if you're a Braves fan, because one, the bigger picture of what you're needing is offense, and that's been the biggest disappointment for this season for the Braves. Is we're not even remote. It was unfair to consider, I said this to you as well, it's unfair to consider that the Braves were going to repeat what they did in 2023 because what they did in 2023 was historical. You're not repeating history, but we were expecting the Braves offense to still be a really good offense, and they are farthest from that right now. So at some point you have to look at the offense and say, hey, we don't have Ronald Acuna. We need to add some life into our lineup. I think that's the bigger play. But you also have to – I see them saying, well, hey, we're needing at least one more starting pitcher because the future is Chris Sale going to 2025 to start the season in April is our number one. Because Strider won't be back until August, more likely. Ronaldo Lopez then becomes your number two, and Charlie Morton retires as well at the end of the season. So you're losing at least two pitchers. Strider's not coming back. That's your third pitcher, and your rotation currently in 2025 is Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez. And then, AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop, and Spencer Schwellenbach at least probably get one spot in the rotation. So you're having to look at and say, right now, who's going to be in part of the rotation in 2025? And I think that's what they're looking at to say we have to add pitching with with contract control, for not just this year, probably not just 2025, but for 2026 as well. And that's going to be difficult because teams aren't trying to give up pitching that have team control. So there's going to be some. That's another variable if you're Alex Anthopoulos looking into and saying how do we better our roster today, as well as for the future when we may not have Max Fried, we may not have Strider coming back until August, and Charlie Morton retires after 2024 season as well.
The Blue Jays have come out, and the Blue Jays have said that they do not plan on moving Vlad Guerrero or Bo Bichette. The Blue Jays have also come out through rumor and innuendo and have said through back channels that they're also not going to give any indication of what they are going to do prior to the All-Star break. They are going to ride this out as if they are staying pat, and then they'll decide right around there what they want to do. You have said on here, JG, that you don't think or that they're going to or they should move off of Vlad Guerrero Jr. You weren't as hot on them keeping Bo Bichette, though. But this week, there has been some connection between the Chicago Cubs and Vlad Guerrero Jr. The Cubs are exploring the possibility of proposing a trade for Vlad. And you know how that works, JG. Exploring could be as simple as, we want him. What would it take? And then it goes no further. Exploring is a very broad term that is thrown around Major League Baseball, and oftentimes it leads to nothing ever truly even being offered or coming together. But since they're exploring, JG, we're going to explore it with you. What would the Cubs potentially have to give up in a deal to take a Vlad Guerrero Jr. type player away from Toronto when Toronto doesn't necessarily want to move him?
The asking price is going to be very high, because again, you have a player who is young, under team control, and he has been the face of the franchise for Toronto for the last few years. So it's not going to be easy for a team, and in this case Chicago, to go and pull Vlad Guerrero Jr. away from the Blue Jays. You're looking at potentially at 2 to 3 top level prospects, and then maybe another mid-level double-A kid that is going to be thrown in. You're looking at probably 4 prospects. I think that the asking price is going to be, and I think. Y'all still there with me? Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, my internet's sometimes spotty here in California. I just want to make sure. But you're looking at 4 prospects, and I think 3 of them are going to be top-level type guys that the Blue Jays are going to want, and that's a high asking price. And I think, again, a team may not be that interested in Guerrero Jr. that much. That's why I said Bo Bichette, for someone like him, yes, I think you can have a conversation and get 4 prospects for Bo Bichette, and a team would be more willing to do so. I had a conversation with people yesterday, and if Bobby Witt Jr. was not having the season that he's having currently, we talk about Bo Bichette being one of the top shortstops in the game. But Bobby Witt Jr. having an MVP caliber season is kind of negated that conversation about Bo Bichette. So if you're talking about Bichette, I think a team would be much more willing. Plus, he plays a premium position at shortstop that is more willing to part with those kind of prospects, whereas first base is not that big of a premium position, as much as I hate saying that, being a former first baseman. I think first base is the big premium position, but the age and control is going to make the Blue Jays say, we're going to want a lot. And I just don't see a team at this point, right now at least, saying, yeah, we'll agree to that. And in this case, for the Chicago Cubs, I don't see that being the case either.
JG, Pete Alonso's camp is saying that he is seeking $200 million this off season. That's a nice big round number. Is he going to get that on the open market?
So you cut out a little bit. Say that again. Ask the question again.
Yep, it looks like Pete Alonso's camp is saying he's seeking $200 million. Is he going to get that on the open market?
I don't see $200 million because, again, look at what Freddie Freeman got. Freddie is an overall better first baseman than Pete, even at this point right now. He didn't get $200 million. I'm trying to remember if Goldschmidt got $200. I don't think Goldschmidt got $200 million. The market for first base, Matt Olson did not get $200 million. You're not really putting Bryce Harper in that conversation. He plays first base. He was an outfielder at the time when he signed his big contract. The market doesn't say, and that's why I said it's not the big premium position. So the contracts are not being paid as such. 29 years old, he'll be 30 this offseason. So that kind of tells you right there, he's not going to get that much money. He may get around to what Freeman got, 180 million, 160, 180, but I don't see 200 million being what he's going to get. Again, you're talking about a 240 hitter. Yes, he hits 30 to 40 home runs. He drives at 100 RBIs, but he's not a Gold Glove first baseman. He's about at best above average on defense there. He's about an average to above average hitter who has plus power and puts up plus power numbers. But the age part, 30 years old, and we've seen this year teams are not big on giving the big amount of money to 30-year-olds anymore. And I think they're going to look at that and say, hey, Freddie Freeman, when he turned 30, he didn't get $200 million. Freddie Freeman was the best first baseman in the game at the time of his free agency when he went to the Dodgers. Paul Goldschmidt, I got like off the top of my head, I can't remember if he got $200 million, but Paul Goldschmidt was in that conversation. Gold Glove first baseman who put up big offensive numbers, power numbers, contact numbers, on base, and batting average. Joey Votto was one of the conversations. He didn't get $200 million, so I don't see Pete Alonso reaching to that point. I think he'd get to the Freddie Freeman number of 160 to 180 at the max, but I don't see $200 million being in Pete Alonso's future.
Goldschmidt signed a 5-year, $130 million contract.
Okay.
Was the last deal that he signed. All right, last thing before we get you out of here, JG. They asked the Major League Baseball players to anonymously rank some things in Major League Baseball. Most of it was not a surprise. Who is the best player in the league? Ohtani was 1, Acuna was 2, but there's a pretty big gap between the two of them. What were the worst franchises or the worst team aesthetics in the league? The bottom 3 were the A's, the Angels, and the White Sox. No surprise there by any stretch.
No.
I know, crazy that those 3 would be in the bottom. What are they thinking? But they were also asked to name the most overrated player in Major League Baseball. And I don't know. I mean, I don't. It was kind of a surprise to me, but I'll be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of Marlins baseball, so maybe I just assume that he's better than he is. But Jazz Chisholm was the overwhelmingly favorite in that category. He finished with just over 20% of the vote, nearly double the next person behind him, who was Anthony Rendon. And I don't know who has him even rated, much less overrated. So I don't even know how he got 10% of the vote, because I think he's anything but overrated. I just think he's a waste of space in Major League Baseball. But he accomplished 10% of the vote, which is okay, good for him. But Jazz Chisholm, and it's funny because they put these little comment things in there, right? So that the players have a chance to comment as like why you voted this way. So Soto also received 1 vote for most overrated player. And the comment with Soto was that, all he does is hit singles and walk. He's not as good of a power hitter as people think that he is. And he's not a good outfielder. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Whatever, just crap on Soto. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But for Chisholm, there wasn't really any good comments aside from the fact that someone said, I don't know how he got the cover of MLB 2K23. The guy's only been to 1 All-Star game. Which I thought it was funny they're bringing MLB covers into it. All right, that's fine. But JG, is Chisholm the most overrated player in Major League Baseball?
And you know what? That's an interesting argument that player put out there. How did he make the cover of MLB? I mean, that's interesting. If they went that far with it,
they did.
And here's the. I kind of hate that this is anonymous, and I get players wouldn't want to put their name on something like this, just for purposes of clubhouse, camaraderie. Because at some point, maybe somebody puts that, maybe a player who wrote that ends up being a teammate of Jazz Chisholm's later on, and you have an issue for you. So I get why they do it anonymous. I just hate that it is anonymous. If you're going to make comments, please just have the guts to put your name on it. But that's me. That and I probably would have. I would have made a comment, put my name on it, and just say, yeah, you know what, here. But I would have gone with Anthony Rendon just for the sheer fact of the contract he has, and he hasn't played and he hasn't done anything since he had that big contract. So that'd be the only reason why I'd put Rendon on the top of that list of overrated, because he's making a ton of money and has done absolutely nothing to earn it. For Jazz Chisholm, it's kind of interesting because he is a versatile player. He's played middle infield. He's played outfield. He's done well at times in his career. Are we putting him in the conversation of best at his position? No, we haven't. I don't think that anybody's really said Jazz Chisholm belongs in the conversation of top outfielders. I don't think anybody's put him in the conversation of top leadoff hitters or anything like that. So that's where I'm a little bit perplexed on how you say he's overrated, because he's not viewed that way as a premium player in the game, and he's not being paid as such either. So I'm a little perplexed, and I guess it's probably the star side of it, where again he got the cover. He kind of, I guess in a way how he carries himself is probably another way about it, where he carries himself and acts like this big superstar, and he's really not. He's not even really known. I guarantee you, if you line him up in Miami, even people who are from Miami don't even know who he is. Or if you put him in a room of professional athletes in Miami, nobody will have a clue on why he's in the room. So that's where I look at it and say maybe it's just the way that he acts and carries himself, as a ball player, that he thinks he's this big superstar, but he's not. But again, the conversation of how we view him as a ball player, it's not looked at that he's a superstar top athlete. So I don't understand the hate for him that much. As being overrated. I think he's a good ball player, and that's all he is a good ball player on a very bad team that he's been on his entire career so far. So interesting, a little perplexing, but again, it's the players. That's why I don't have a problem with what's said, because it's the players themselves making this comment, making this point. It's not media or anything like that. So they see it differently. They see it. They see as far as how he is and what makes him, to have this about him. So you got to take it as face value in that way from the player's perspective.
JG, before you get here, I got one more question for you. It's just a personal question that popped into my head. I'm going to give you a personal scenario. Okay.
Yep.
Let's say that we rewrite history, and your Major League Baseball career is a 7-year journey. Okay. I'm going to give you two options. Those 7 years you are going to spend on the Miami Marlins. All right. You will be you'll go up and down a little bit but for the most part, for those 7 years, you are on the roster. All right. You are on the roster. You have whatever success you have, starter, bench player, but you're consistently on the roster for those 7 years. You retire from Major League Baseball. It is what it is. The other option is you spend most of those 7 years in the AAA for the Atlanta Braves. But I tell you, you're going to get called up once, at least once. There's no guarantee for how long it lasts, but you are going to get called up, and you are going to start a game as an Atlanta Brave once in your career. Which one do you take?
So it's basically just one start compared to 7 years.
You're guaranteed one.
Man,
Come
I know. That's why I asked it. I'm intrigued.
on, you're a ball player, JG. Take the 7.
I am a ball player. I am. This is why it is hard, though, because since I was 5 years old, I've always dreamed of wearing the tomahawk on my chest. I kid you not. Not to even put it out. I have a little. My parents, when I was 6 or 7 years old, there's a drawing that my mom got that has my name and my number and a Braves uniform. It was a birthday gift for my 6-year-old year birthday, and it's a picture of me in a Braves uniform playing professional baseball, and the sheer. Just when I tried out for the Braves, in 2014, for a minor league opportunity, that in itself was just absolutely mind blowing and amazing for me. So to have that opportunity at least one time to wear the tomahawk on my chest, I would take the one opportunity to play for the Atlanta Braves over a 7-year career with the Marlins. Because at the end of the day, if I get the opportunity and I put up the chance, and maybe I get more opportunities, but the fact that it's my childhood team, that's my favorite team of all sports, and that does include the New Orleans Saints. The Atlanta Braves are my favorite team of all time. To have that opportunity to wear that tomahawk on my chest, I cannot pass that up, even if it's just for one day in my career. I would have to say play for the Atlanta Braves.
That is awesome, JG. We appreciate having you on here most mornings, sir. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you towards the end of the week, all right?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
JG, Mo, it's always a pleasure having JG on the show here.
No doubt.
Mo, I can't find the button. There the button is. All right, Mo, we talked about JG's team. Let's talk about your team now. We called it. Sometimes the pull is just too much. And first of all, Mo, and you can tell me if you disagree. I thought the bag was a little light. I thought the bag was a little light for our guy Dan Hurley. You and I were throwing out some numbers yesterday that we thought were going to be the number, and then the number comes down, and I was just like, "Oh, that seems short a few stacks in there, Mo." 6 years, $70 million was the offer, as opposed to the deal he is currently on with UConn, where he's making $32 million over the course of that contract, which I believe is also 6 years. So I was like, man, yeah, they more than doubled the number, but I thought they were going to throw a little more there in the bag. Woj basically said, Mo, what we have been saying, which was it was too hard for him to walk away from the chance to three-peat. And I stand by what I said earlier this week, in that if it wasn't there, if they didn't win the title last year, I think he comes. I mean, maybe not for the 6 and 70. I really thought they were going to break the bank for him. So again, I mean, Hurley was just on the Colin Cowherd show back in March and saying that he turns down offers all the time for more money. He's not a money guy. He's making a lot of money now. He's always going to have a lot of money. So he's more about fit and location and all that stuff, because the money's always going to be there, which is not something a lot of people would say, Mo. But let's start with my first point. Did you think the bag was light, or did you think it was in the right spot?
I thought it was really light because, look, and I know what they're going to say. They're going to say the money that he was offered puts him behind Spoelstra, behind Popovich, behind Steve Kerr, behind Ty Lue, and he should be behind those guys. I'm not arguing that. But if you really wanted him, if you think this is your guy for the next 5 to 7 years, you have to make him an offer he can't refuse. Mm-hmm. You, like we do with players, you had to overpay him. You actually have to pay him as much as Steve Kerr. I get it. He ain't got no rings. All that's true. But again, you want him bad enough, you make him an offer that he can't refuse. Remember, when this first came out, they were talking about the Lakers are going to make an unprecedented offer to him, upwards of $100 million. And I was like, that actually happens. That's interesting. When it comes down to it, it's about $11 million a year. That's a lot of money, but that's not an overwhelming offer. And I think that number, combined with the uncertainty of what the roster is going to look like not with LeBron. I'm talking about, are you going to make roster moves post LeBron? Not, you know what I mean? For the future. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty there. And like you said, the bag is light too. I don't think it was any one thing. I think it was a combination of things that made Hurley walk away from it. Because remember, his comments coming out of the meeting told me all I needed to hear. He came out of the meeting and said, well, they made a compelling offer. Compelling? Those aren't strong words. Those are, when you say the words, well, they made a compelling offer. That's not a big sign that you're really leaning their way. Like you said, he's not a money guy, and he's making plenty of money now, but he's a great, maybe on the way to being an all-time great college basketball coach, and he has the opportunity to put himself in a conversation with one other man, John Wooden, by three-peating. And I think that he also knows that the NBA is a whole different thing, and how it's ran and what you deal with. I honestly think, I wasn't in the room, but I think the Lakers probably put on a great light show and flash and all that kind of stuff. And then when it got down to the substance, he wasn't awed. And then when it got down to the money, he was like, oh, that's how much. I'm going to have my people get back with your people Monday, and we'll talk. And I think he came out of that meeting going like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
And then we find out this morning, Mo, that he's also got a 6-year, $50 million offer on the table from UConn. So that makes that money get even closer. So he's basically getting a $20 million raise if he signs that deal from his current team, which is only about 20 million short of what he was being offered by the other team. Right. So now it's not even a situation where the money is more than doubled. Now the money really isn't that far apart. And when you're thinking about it like, oh, this is the unprecedented offer, they're just 20 million more than what he's making. And that's okay. All right.
Right.
That's
right.
the big one. That's the one that's supposed to blow him away, Mo. Because he didn't seem to have an issue saying no to it. And I agree with you. You know, let's say they offered him six and like 110, whatever it is. Would they get torn apart for it? Absolutely. People would be like, you had to go pay a college coach probably 3 times what he was worth. This guy's making this much more money more than Kerr and Spoelstra, never even coached an NBA. You would hear all the stories.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if in those 5 years he wins a title, that's all that matters, right? Like, and there's no guarantee he would, but if you really thought he was your guy, that's what you do. If you really think that Michael Penix Jr. is your guy, you don't care that you just gave a 4-year big money contract to Kirk Cousins. You go and draft him and you figure it out later on. And you deal with being hammered by the media. And you're going to be hammered by the media for the next couple of seasons until he proves he's the guy and you made the right choice. So you do what you got to do if you're convinced he's the guy. Mo, maybe they wanted him, but they just didn't think he was that guy.
Yeah, I really feel like they undersold themselves. Remember, like I said, they need him more than he needs them. 100%. He's fine. He's gonna be fine regardless. And if down the road he decides to pursue being a head coach in the NBA, there will be no shortage of offers then either for Bobby Hurley's service. I don't doubt that for one moment. I just think this is one of those things. And if you've been following the Lakers like I have, and most, this isn't the first time they've blown something like this. This is just the most recent time. The problem with the Lakers, and it's been a problem for going back to when Kobe became the guy and Shaq left, is there's an arrogance about them where it's like, you're getting to coach the Lakers. I mean, all you got to do is go look at the trophy case, look at the banners. I mean, you should want to do this for free. It's the Lakers, the prestige and all that kind of. And that's why they haven't gotten free agents. And that's why they don't get the coaches they want, because that doesn't hold like it used to in the past. And it's a different time now. You can show me the 17 championships. It's impressive. But I'm going to look at you and go, right, but you guys haven't won anything like almost 5 years, right? Like there's a reason why you're talking to me, right? Like things haven't gone great. Like we have to deal in the present. And they have struggled with that with free agents. They've struggled with that with coaches. And I just don't think the job is as attractive as most people or as most Laker fans think it is. They think it's the Lakers. You should be honored to be talking to the purple and gold. And people are like, I think Bob Hurley went there like with his family. Mind you, Chris, he took his family. So I think he literally went there to be wowed, to get an offer to where even his wife and family would have been like, Pops, you got to take this. I mean, come on, man. Yeah. And I think the Lakers, they didn't do enough. I think they undersold it. I think they didn't value him the way he thought they valued him. When you hear Adrian Wojnarowski say these things, when you hear Sharm say they're going to make an unprecedented offer, and then you get the offer and you're like, that's just a regular offer,
right?
Regular offer. Like Coach Budenholzer was unemployed, and the Suns just hired him, and he's making a little bit over 10, right? And he was unemployed. 11. I'm just saying, you the number. It should have been the kind of number that you and I would have came on today and said, like, well, he's making more than Steve Kerr. So they clearly wanted him. How could he say no? They didn't do that. And we move on. And now remember, the draft is, I think, what, the 25th or the 26th, and we don't have a head coach.
And we did also find out this morning that there hasn't, like we projected, Mo, because we asked the question yesterday, and we found out this morning there has not been a lot of contact between the Lakers and JJ Redick. The article out this morning says that the conversations have been minimal over the past few weeks, which is what we kind of thought. You know, we had all these people saying that he was the guy, he was anointed, he wasn't really saying anything about it. There weren't any reports that he was meeting with the team officially or anything like that. And then this Hurley thing kind of comes out of left field, and now we find out that the Lakers, they're on he's on their radar. But, you know, they weren't having meeting after meeting, conversation after conversation, and then they just put him off to the side to go after Hurley. It looks like what we thought it was, Mo, which was just that they had a list. He was near the top of the list as people they might be interested in, and that really was as far as it had gotten before the Hurley pursuit. So obviously Redick's name is back in the fold. We talked about Jay Wright yesterday. There's the assistant from the Pelicans. I believe his name is in the fold as well. So there's a few guys out there. The Lakers said this morning through the rumor and innuendo they want to coach before the draft. Thank God. Thank God that's their target. Let's get someone in here before the draft.
Right.
I'm glad they have a date in mind, Mo. But it is not going to be Hurley. Great show on a Tuesday, Mo. Take us to the end.
Thank you guys so much for joining Chris and I this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at the Wire Wire Network. Wire Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Make sure you're here, same time, same place tomorrow. We got the NFL genius himself on the show. We're going to be breaking down, more previewing Game 3 of the NBA Finals. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network.